sure that you're looking at your pin notes. And then we really want to hone in on why we want to create an estimate at a time. So in the office, there's a dashboard where we can look at our sales and our revenue metrics within ServiceTitan. And what a lot of people don't know is that if you don't build an estimate within the system, you're not going to get your sell by credit in the sales numbers. So I think a really important distinction to make is that our sales within ServiceTitan, your sell by credit, is driven by estimates. So if an estimate isn't created, then you're only getting credit for the revenue or the work performed. The total revenue or your ticket or your job is only when you're performing that work. So sometimes there might be multiple technicians working on something, or maybe one technician created a lead and sold an opportunity, and another technician is going to go the next day and perform the work. You want to make sure that you're always getting credit for your sales, even if you're not performing the work. That's a lot of information, so I'm just going to pause. Do you guys have any questions about that, or have you guys seen kind of some of these test scorecards before?
What you're basically saying is each task needs to be written up as an estimate and signed for, and not just bunched together at the end, because you're not going to get credit. Even though you get the credit for the revenue, you won't get credit for the sales, and I think that's important.
Yes, yes. We all want our sell by credit. Do you want to add anything there, or okay?
The sold by credit getting changed at the, when we do the batching anyway, we're putting the sold by in there. But the other important part about estimates too, if you're not creating them, you're not getting pre-authorization signatures to do more drivers, so that's also important to make the estimate.
Really good point. Yeah, feel free to interject if you want to let us know what other process recommendations. I'm not going to spend too much time here. You guys have been building estimates, or at least navigating through the price book on the invoice today. But we are going to be launching a new price book. It should be more intuitive, and I think what's really exciting to highlight here is your administrative staff has spent a lot of time really making sure that all of the tasks are entered with descriptions and prices already, so that you're not having to go through and add all of those tasks. So if what I just want to say is, like, they spent a lot of time on it. It's really media rich. It looks really great, which is also nice because when you flip around the estimates for the customers, they're able to really look at their line items, and you're going to have consistency in what you're selling. But to that point, again, if you guys have feedback, hey, I think this task is missing, or I'm having a difficult time finding this, I'm going to show you some tips and tricks for navigating the workflow today. But please bring that feedback in, and we can absolutely have a discussion about how we can make this an even easier experience for you guys.
So part of the launch of the price book, we actually designed a process. So if you guys have like something as you're going along that items out in a weird category, or whatever, let your branch manager know. The branch manager will actually feed that information up, and then we'll always keep a log of any items that need to be adjusted. So like really your feedback will make a difference on the price book. So if you see something you don't like, say something.
Yeah, we expect to make changes to this next iteration early on. We're probably going to be quite a bit of them. So get that to Rick, get that to Mike. They'll load it up to Christina. Everybody else is going to be doing the same thing. You're going to go over refreshing later? Is that part of it?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Never mind.
One cool thing we're really excited about launching after this training roadshow is going to be option packages, and in ServiceTitan we call these estimate templates. All it means is essentially we're going to come up with some common option packages, so good, better, best options that you're regularly building within the system to reduce the number of clicks for you to actually create those, and also to help people know, hey, when I'm out on this job and I'm working on a cable mainline cleanout, I'm usually also able to upsell a camera inspection. So it kind of not only takes your recommendations in your price book and helps you to upsell, but it creates a template that you can still manipulate from there as a starting point to ensure that you have all of these various option packages, so you can have that conversation with your customer. Hey, this is why I recommend this. And rather than focusing on building your estimates on the tablet, basically selecting that, maybe making a few tweaks, turning it around and really having that conversation about why you recommend one package over another. So all that to say, we'll go through this today, and I'll show you how they work. These are just 2 examples we've gathered with the new price book. We don't know all of the estimate templates that you guys would want to use. So again, please use that feedback process. In the other session, somebody asked, hey, how do we know, like, how do we get a good option package to you? We're gonna go over how to build these good, better, best options today. If you're really proud of one, or you have one that you're using regularly, just grab that job number, give it to Rick or one of the managers and say, hey, this is a really good option package I continually am able to sell. And with that job number, we can funnel it up and not only give that to you guys, but we can start to come up with standardized options for all of the locations. So you might get some knowledge shared from one branch and they might be able to utilize some of your templates from here.
I'm sorry, you say share our secrets? Yeah, it's just
Within Rotoco. We'll go over the closeout process. Again, I know you guys are working through the invoice and collecting your signatures. I just want to hit on a couple of other items today, really making sure we know the difference between when we hit now versus later. So I'll ask you guys as we go through this process. And then also wanted to go over like a couple of scenarios. Sometimes guys are like, hey, customer changed their mind, they want to add on an item, what do I do? So we'll walk through that today. And then collecting or your form information for your HIC forms for some of those residential jobs. This is the exciting stuff. We're going to be enabling, or actually your team has already selected plans to launch financing. So we're going to give this deck to the branch managers as a takeaway. We can also send them resources on how financing works, but I wanted you guys to see a preview of what it'll look like on the tablets when we go live. And I'll show you what the plans look like when we go through the demo as well. But basically, as a customer is coming through and they're looking through those option packages, you're looking at the difference maybe between $21 a month and $25 a month. Hey, that's pretty digestible versus looking at that sticker shock. So it's gonna give you the opportunity to allow folks right on the tablet within like 60 seconds to know if they're gonna get approved for financing. So you'll go to the top right, you'll apply for financing, and then the customer's gonna get to browse through the plans that they wanna apply for. So from there, if they want to actually apply for an additional amount, they can up how much financing they wanna be approved for, go through the application process, and then you can choose the Green Sky financing payment type. So I did put a tip down here. If a customer applies for financing and wants to activate that plan and use it on this job, that's when you want to use that Green Sky payment type. If not, they're also welcome to save their financing that's approved. Or if they applied for $10,000 and you're only using $4,000 today, they get a number for their activation plan, and you can continually use that as you go out to perform additional work. One of the other questions that has come up, yeah, go ahead.
Brian, are we gonna have a minimum amount for that financing, so whatever it is?
Does
now?
not matter if
Okay,
it's close the
alright.
job, use it.
Okay.
275.
Even if it's like 275?
Yep.
Mainline?
Yeah.
Bro?
Yep.
Alright.
You'll actually see when we go through an example today, like one of the plans is as low as $4 a month. So, hey, if
Wow.
that gets them to sign the estimate, then that'd be awesome.
About 5 shield.
The application process looks pretty simple, to be honest with you.
cool.
So
Mhm.
because we already have the customer's information and service type, like their name, address, phone number, email, like all that jazz that you've done before, now it just automatically populates in there. We're not populating like social or anything like that, they actually still have to put that in. But it makes the application process a lot easier, so that you're just handing the iPad over to be like, hey, can you fill out these 3 fields? They hit apply, it's instantaneous. So it should make your job a lot easier, and it's a lot more seamless for the customer, so pretty cool.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Is there further paperwork after the application that the customer would need to fill out, anything email to them?
No, and Green Sky will like send them, I think you can choose email or like snail mail, but like Green Sky will send them information. And then they'll also have like a little like credit card token. So the other thing that's kind of cool is if you, like let's say you're like, hey, I want to pick option A and option B, and they're like, well, I can just do option A, and like I'm gonna ask my husband later on option B. Well then, you can actually follow up on that and be like, hey, do you guys want to take advantage of option B? Because the rest of them
look at some best practices and some tips and tricks with the tablet today. We'll ask you guys to get involved, since it sounds like this branch is performing pretty well, which is exciting. So let's go ahead and just switch gears. I'm gonna go ahead and put, service sign-in on the tablet here, and then, we'll walk through our first residential job.
Volunteer.
Let's see here.
I wouldn't defend that so actually.
This is the new iPad screen all the time.
Oh, nice.
Alright, there we go. Okay, so best practices, first and foremost, does anybody know what you should be doing at the beginning of every day when you open up your service?
Refresh, download Pressbook.
Yeah, great, wow.
Hold on.
Yeah, that's
I'll be your opener for you.
That what? I get a candy?
So that's what I'm actually gonna do. What I'm looking at is some old, I'm
I'll
serious.
transfer you.
Well, what is it? USB.
A new car. Servicio Latino.
Yeah, I think I drink beer, huh?
I know you already.
So that's a Mexican thing.
So you'll see actually when I did that, it just said you are no longer assigned to this job. That's because we were doing stuff yesterday and
You've
we
been assigned.
refreshed some things. It's really important for those of you who don't know, there are a couple of options when you tap your sync icon in the top right. Oh, so your sync icon up here is really small, sorry for you guys in the back, but it kind of has like 2 arrows. There are 2 options in the drop down, download Pricebook and sync changes. A lot of folks don't know that downloading Pricebook is the only thing that brings your office changes to your tablet. Sync changes might push your stuff to the office, but if every morning we're making changes to the Pricebook, maybe changes are being made to your job, this is why you want to download your Pricebook to make sure you're getting everything from the office.
How many of you guys gotten that call where they're like, hey, why are you going to this job? And you're like, I don't have the job on my iPad. That's it. You want to just save your changes, it'll pull it over.
Awesome.
This guy back here is like, dude.
The next thing that we just wanted to go over is how you're able to clock in and out for the day. So I know that a lot of times you're in your truck and you'll arrive on your job or drive away and the system will clock you in or out. But it is dependent on basically like your location and the truck and various factors. So we're gonna recommend that you tap your profile in the top right and you actually just tap clock in for the day and clock out when you're done. That way we can just bookend your day and then cross-reference those timesheets with everything else the system is already automatically tracking. We've heard some feedback in the other session that like sometimes it automatically clocks them in at midnight. Does that happen to anybody else here?
Clocks us out at midnight.
That's if we're on like one of the OT shifts.
Yeah, okay.
They'll clock me into the shop. I'll be in Davis and all of a sudden it says, you're at the shop.
Right by the shop, no, that puts us at shop.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so the functionality is there, so that
Yeah, clock in,
basically we're
yeah,
setting up
probably.
all of your locations, so that with your GPS, it says, hey, when you arrive to the shop, you're working shop time. So that is likely to happen within the radius. The good news is if you're just driving by, if it's anything under a minute, it's not actually gonna log that on your timesheet. But for clocking in and out of the day, I think that it's just helpful to be able to do this. And then also, if you want to clock into specific events, so let's say everybody wanted to come in this morning and say, hey, we're taking roll of who attended this training, for example. We can tap on events and then select one of our timesheet codes here, and that will log the number of hours or minutes that you spent either in the shop, on standby, although we do automatically track idle time within our system, or if I wanted to clock into this training this morning, I would tap select, and then it'll actually log me as I'm doing this training, and then when I'm done with that, I can just tap done. Again, you need at least 1 minute to be able to get that. Have you guys been using any of those timesheet codes, or just relying on, okay,
You gotta go to the store, you gotta click supplier, all that stuff.
Yeah, we use all those.
awesome, great.
And not Betty will be, why aren't you at the Why are you idle? And you're not break.
Well, that's why they're all driving around this branch, okay.
Yeah, Betty represents the company.
Much
She looking right now. Look.
You're doing a good job, Betty.
Yeah,
Good job,
work,
Betty.
Everybody say.
Good job, Betty.
Awesome.
He's sitting there.
Okay, let's take a look. I'm gonna go ahead and view the job here. Some people like to comment on this street view. Yes, it is only as good as Google satellite images is. So you might see cornfields once in a while, but ideally you're looking at either the road or the entrance to a house. So we're gonna go ahead and view our John Smith job here. It's a residential job. You guys know this, but you'll get your brief summary here, and then when you click into view job, you're gonna get your detailed view. Question for you guys. When you log into your app and you see some various gray buttons here, like if we jump to invoice, gray is the pay button is grayed out, or the job. What does that mean?
You're not clocked in or
You're
you're
not
not
dispatched.
You're not arrived.
Yeah, that's great. A lot of folks will jump in and they're like, I can't sign out on my job, and they just kind of forgot to dispatch. So I like to point that out. If your buttons are gray or you're missing your forms button here, you just haven't dispatched and arrived yourself. It is best practice that we're actually tapping dispatch before we drive. The reason for this is A, in the system, we're gonna be tracking drive time, and then B, your customer is gonna get a notification automatically from the system. And with Google Maps, you can tap get directions, and it'll do an ETA with your projected time, including traffic, and send that to the customer. So if you hit dispatch and arrive like 5 minutes before as you're arriving, then the customer doesn't get that ETA, and they don't get time to prepare for you coming into their home. So we'll go ahead and tap dispatch here. Has anybody kind of seen like the Uber version of how they can track your truck?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi, Alejandro.
Pizza guy.
Yes,
But if, we just notifications
I saw
off,
you
can't see
coming.
that, is that correct?
that is true.
Hell, you was
I like to kind of see it.
Pretty sure they're on, but.
I thought you were back. That's funny.
Customers get a text message 24 hours before you arrive, your appointment time, and then they'll get like the Uber like little map that shows you driving. They get that as soon as you dispatch. So does two things. First of all, it should help with like cancellations because they're getting a reminder 24 hours before. So it's like, "Oop, cancel my air appointment, I will be home," which is awesome. We don't want to waste your time. Then on the flip side, it's also really nice for them to be able to see like how far away you are. And that does include traffic, to Chris's earlier point, so you don't have to try and add like another 20 minutes. Don't add 20 minutes while he's looking at me like that. He's like, what?
Awesome. Okay, so who wants to be our first volunteer? Because I don't want to hear my voice all day, and you guys don't want to either. So I'm going to have a couple of people drive as we're investigating this customer and we're arriving at the house.
Leo's close.
Go, John. Go, John.
That job seems a little far.
Oh,
It is hard.
Hey, Leo.
Leo's
Gonna be a good one,
volunteer.
Travel charge.
Come on up.
It's not my gas. I'm on my way.
There's no judgment here. I just want to know, like, hey, what do we know? What do we have questions about? Okay, so we're arriving on the house. You realize there's like a super mean, vicious dog like growling at you, and you feel bad for your buddies who are gonna go to this house later, and also encounter a really mean, vicious dog. So if you wanted to add a note to this customer's profile, where would you do that?
Go,
No, you get to drive.
okay,
Okay.
oh, so I'm driving.
Yeah.
Driving and
There's some mine.
Driving and texting, John?
I'm a little slow,
That's
I'm trying to come
okay.
text
I'm a little
savvy.
slow.
No, that's good.
Hey Siri, I don't know.
You get to tap. Yeah, where would you add a note to this customer's?
You gotta pull over. Gotta pull over. You got to pull over.
You guys can help them out.
Go to the person. Oh, there's no cameras on.
Go to the pen.
Yep.
Add no.
You do this all the time, don't
I probably need that.
I don't think he works off the office side, right?
No, he doesn't.
I always
Yeah, and then, yeah.
Alexa, I don't know.
You speech to text, John.
Please can no for
Yeah. I was like, I'm gonna do it. So what he's doing, yeah, is he's typing a note, but it's this toggle that's gonna pin it to the profile, not just the job history for all the future technicians who come and have a job.
Tag
President
Karen's
bring
name
pepper
on
spray.
that.
Save to the top.
Boom. Okay, so simple enough.
Yeah, awesome job. Okay,
Dog.
so now we're gonna go ahead and hit, close here. So this is helpful, maybe it is a vicious dog, maybe it's really, I've seen some other good notes, like, hey, customer's really elderly, or,
Knock
allergic to
loud at the door.
something, or there's really difficult parking, or there's a gate code. So all these things
walking.
might be helpful. In a commercial scenario, what might we see on your PIN notes?
Do not leave invoice with customer.
Yep,
Okay, codes. Don't discuss pricing with manager.
Do not exceed amounts.
yeah,
You
perfect,
know.
yeah, guarantee amounts, all of that. So as
Store
we're
steps.
coming on the job, we wanna make sure we're looking at the summary of the job, we're looking, at any of our PIN notes. Go ahead and tap on that recommended estimate right there. Right above PIN notes. Perfect. Okay, so if you have an estimate that you've created and you've tapped it as recommended, we'll walk through this here in a little bit. You can actually see this as a recommended unsold estimate to follow up on this opportunity. To Audrey's point, if we went out and we talked option A, we applied for financing, we recommended an estimate, and for whatever reason, customer said, no, not today, but I'll think about it. We wanna check this out, because now if we're going back 2 weeks later, something might have changed. We wanna bring that up. Hey, while I'm out here, did you wanna look into completing that job or doing this work as well? So all of your, recommended estimates that are unsold will pop up in there so that you can think about, the opportunity of helping to close that sale.
Those recommended estimates will be acquired throughout the service history of the
What?
client.
Correct, yes, yeah.
I did notice with like,
Jenna.
say you're doing one of those, packages, when it opens one packages, one of the packages, you open one of the packages on the estimates, it shows that you have all 4 of them open. So
That is true.
I'll open a, the cabled mainline, cabling mainline good, and it'll have all 4 of the packages as open. So-
That's why the one that you don't wanna use, you gotta delete the other
But
ones.
it also shows that you've opened all those estimates and have them as an option.
Yeah, so that's a really good point, and that does come up a lot of, you're worried, right? You're like, okay, I built 6 options, 4 options, 2 options, I'm only gonna sell one of these. So the good news is Service Titan looks at each job as an opportunity. So if you think of your conversion rate, we're not saying, hey, you sold 1 out of 4 estimates. We want you to be able to build your option packages. So each job in itself is a single opportunity, and as long as you convert any one of those, you'll get your conversion rate credit. So you don't have to worry about those. If you want to delete them, if the office wants to dismiss them, you can. They can choose to follow up on them. But kind of also in other scenarios, if you know you might have the potential for still performing that work later, you could keep it open in the history. Again, as long as you convert one of those, it's not gonna count against your record. But that's a really good point, because a lot of guys worry about that. Yeah.
Would it be worth an example there, Carissa?
Sorry, say that again?
Would it be worth an example there, like if you propose a pole or a dig job, and they say, nah, just snake it, we're gonna limp it along a little longer? You keep that open, and next time somebody goes out there, they see, well, John was here 2 months ago, and he suggested this, you didn't wanna do it then. We can keep coming out and snaking it, but you can just grab that and it's already built. So that's a reason to leave it open, right?
Correct.
I think our project managers do a really good job of
Okay, awesome, that's really good to hear.
You get a kitchen, bro.
Okay, yeah, okay. Follow up, we'll get that later, yeah. Okay, so you can see the history, you can open up this estimate, I'm gonna show you at the end of today how to use the follow-up tab, because you can also duplicate these and then, work on selling that as well. But this will show you, what's outstanding and what's still recommended. And then, if we wanna jump into the history and see additional history, we can. Now, before we do that, I did wanna just point out that you also have the ability of tapping, over here on the right-hand side, contact details. So when I tap that and I look at contact details within here, I can see, phone number, customer information, whether or not they have a balance. And then how do you guys typically, are you guys calling the customer at all when you're on the way?
You're supposed to.
Okay, and how are you doing that? Are you calling
Through the
through
phone.
You press call and your phone rings and you answer the phone and it transfers you.
Awesome, thank you. You know the right answer?
Huh?
Okay, let us know if that happens, what job and what time, and we can send in a support case with our phone team. Because this is important for a couple of 2 reasons. A a couple of reasons. We wanna make sure, A, that we're logging that call. It's a little bit of CYA. We're able to record that. So if you're talking to the customer and they cancel while you're driving, or whatever the scenario may be, we can actually refer back to that. So if the customer ever calls and says, my tech never showed up, the office can listen to that and be like, actually, it looks like you canceled the job.
Or if they're not on site and they approve your quote, and then when it comes to pay, I never approved it, there's a phone call right there.
Yeah, exactly. So another really good scenario. The other reason is when it dials out to your phone and then to the customer, it's actually gonna advertise your company's number versus your personal number. So now your customers aren't like texting or calling your personal cell phone number. They're able to dial in and you're able to dial out from the company number.
I've noticed that quite a few times that instead of those numbers being there, they'll have it in the notes, and you can't call it from the notes. It'll be a separate number saying, call this number for
You
authorization.
can upload the phone number.
Add new contact field.
Did you hear that? Call her and she'll fix it.
But after hours, you could add it right there to add new contact field.
So you tap, yeah, thank you. You tap new contact field, you can actually, if you don't
You already
see,
got your bottle.
you can add an
I want like
email,
3 of
or
them.
like, hey, I updated my email, you can add a phone number, or you can add a mobile phone as well for notifications. And then if it is in addition to something and they're switching their primary, that's maybe where you wanna add it, and if you're after hours, then notify Betty the next day, hey, we actually need to switch their primary number, or whatever it might be. Okay, so now we're gonna jump into history here. How many of you guys are using the history tab? Okay, awesome, that's a pretty good number. For those of you who maybe haven't seen this, as much, it's really helpful to start doing research, for any notes that maybe aren't pinned to the customer. So you can look at prior notes from just previous jobs, maybe it's not related to a new job or a gate code, but you could look at prior notes from previous jobs. You can also look, at some previous invoices or your recommended estimates, which we showed on the primary screen. But if one isn't marked as recommended and we still wanna see other open estimates, then we can come here and look at those, estimates within here. And then we can also look at previous forms. So if we filled out that HIC form or any other forms within the system, like our pre-work form, right? And then you're going out maybe to do post-work for whatever reason, you can come in here and you can look at your pre-work photo and reference that, and maybe even see some notes that some of the other guys have doodled on. So how many of you guys are using the doodle feature?
The doodle?
Doodle?
That's been a while.
When you wanna upload
You wanna
specific
show you
pictures.
guys how to take a picture and doodle on it? What?
When you try to pinpoint a crack in a pipe or something.
Alright. Well, you don't have to be in the picture, it's them.
You circle the roots, like, see, here's the roots. No, for real.
Here's the blockage.
That's the problem right there, the red
That's the
shirt.
blockage.
That's why your receipts never look right.
And then photos and videos, yep. And you just tap in photos
I
and
haven't
videos.
used it in a while.
Perfect.
Then you go, and then you press on doodle,
Tap the,
Dude.
and then you circle
oh,
Tyler's
okay, so you
face.
did it on the form, right? Okay, so when
You
you're
gotta
filling
upload
out the
picture.
form, the difference between snapping the pre-work photo on the form is it's attached to the form. So you wanna browse through the history there. If you wanna attach it to the job, you wanna grab your camera icon down on the bottom left, and that'll attach it in photos or videos for the job itself, at which point you'll be able to actually doodle on that. So yeah, now we'll go to photos and videos under history. Perfect. And then photos and videos. Now we can tap. And now to doodle, does anybody know?
You have to click on the
Yeah.
picture. There you go.
And then.
You gotta take the picture the other way.
There's a little.
Yeah, sorry, he's gonna have to be sideways for the day.
Mhm.
Ooh, look at that.
I'm zooming too far now.
You gotta zoom into the acne
Three
first.
dots on the top right, they're blue, they're like, for anybody who's colorblind, it's like the meanest thing ever. So you'll tap on that and actually hit doodle. What this will do is it'll give you some markup tools, so if you wanna actually like draw on where we wanna maybe, start digging out under the foundation. I was talking to Brian last night, he'll probably hear this story a couple of times, but I was staying at an Airbnb and the plumber came out and said, hey, you have tree roots like growing through this area of the pipe. That's why it's backing up. So you can snap a picture, go ahead and circle that area and start to outline where we need to dig under the foundation. So this is really helpful, thank you, I appreciate it.
Good job, Leo.
So this is really helpful because what it'll do is it'll save the original photo and then it'll also save your doodled photo for the rest of the group to see later. It'll also attach it back in the office. So this is all gonna be centralized. When we talk about a little bit of that history with the call history or your forms, think about this. This is a system where whether you're in the field or in the office, we'll have access to this information. If the customer calls in and asks about it, means they email or somebody else has a question and you're not there.
The other thing that's nice about the copy is for your own personal reference, like if you're gonna doodle things up and you want like that just to be for internal use, you have it, you have the copy which you can email to the customer. So it kind of does that for you automatically. The other piece is if you go in and like, let's say you're like, hey, we need these 5 things for you, and there's cracked tile, or there's some other issue that's present like before you do anything, if you can always take that photo, there's a timestamp of when the job was completed, you can note like the customer did not want me to fix this, but it just covers you, and like the whole purpose of this is just to make sure that you guys have everything that you need, and that you can basically like say like, no, we did not do these things, we did address these things. So use these photos to like cover the jobs that you're doing.
So you,
A good example of that would be is when you're doing a kitchen line and you're underneath that sink and that board's all water damaged and buckled and everything else, just take a couple pictures of it. And just, you don't even have to, you can do it on the pre-work photo or whatever, but just take pictures of it, so it's in there, so 3 weeks from now, they call back and say, we did all this water damage. That picture's time-stamped and when we took it before we started. We'll take notes in the job that was, you know, damaged prior to arrival. Those are all things that save us down the road, so.
Is there a question?
I had a question. So you don't edit it from the forms, the pictures and the forms, you go to, I didn't.
Camera.
The camera icon on the bottom left. So this will attach it to the job and the customer history. Your pre-work form photo is specifically for that form. So if you wanted to find that filled out form, we would actually under history, go to previous forms, and then we could look at our pre-work photo if we had filled this out, and you would see that there. So you can actually see there are other photos in here, last time.
And if you guys are doing just about any type of job, take pictures during the process. If you're putting in a new disposal, before, during, and after, putting in a new toilet, same thing. Water heater. Doing a big repair job like the one that Bobby and everybody was out there with, we took 30 or 40 pictures of that, and then I'm able to send that to the customer too, so he can kind of see the process of the work that we do too, so.
Awesome. Okay, so now that we've checked out our history, what's the next thing we're gonna do? Yeah, where are we gonna go to do that? Yes. You don't want a bottle cap, but we appreciate your participation. He doesn't want one. Yeah. We got it. There you go. Awesome.
Might as well finish.
So we're gonna go ahead and build a new estimate. Since you guys have been building estimates, I'm gonna ask for one more volunteer because I want us to like see a little bit of the price book, and I'll kind of direct you on some other tips and tricks for searching for tasks. Since it is a little bit new price book, we'll build one of these and then I'll walk through how the estimate templates work. Awesome.
You really want the teacher.
You already got it. Here's one matching pair.
Cool. Thank you.
You can't see.
So let's, walk us through, how you would create an estimate for, this is John Smith, his toilet's backing up, his main line, his yard is all flooded.
All water restoration.
That's right.
Call John Arlejano.
Alright, so I'm gonna talk while he's typing, he's basically naming the estimate, and then when you go to the summary, that's gonna be a summary of the work that you're performing if you wanna enter that. Then we're gonna take a look, at our price book here,
Can he go
awesome.
back real quick, Joe? Hit the back button. Go back again.
Restart.
Go back to your estimates.
So all this.
So you have your
Go
choices.
back to add an estimate. See that right there at the bottom? It says cable mainline clean out, select, click on that one. There you go.
So,
Now
yeah,
you
we're
got your
gonna go over
better best already
estimate.
built out for a mainline stoppage. Instead of building 3, that's a quick one-step click.
So we're gonna go over that, totally, thank you for that.
Now you gotta give a
But
keychain
for
back.
now, let's just
Add
walk through,
items.
yeah.
You gotta get a
Totally
keychain
fine. No,
back.
I'm super glad that you found that. You can actually leave those, you're totally fine if you want.
That's why we can stand.
Okay,
That's what I meant by
Dude.
the packages, like 4 of them showing up
So-
noticed a lot less lately that, I can't think of any names, but you guys have been using those more
Yeah.
with the 550 for cable and camera, the special and all those, so the more you guys use those, the better. Thank you.
Yeah, it's gonna
With the add-on
speed
price?
up your process.
That's
I'll
a-
probably
Oh,
go
I
chime
wanted
in
to ask
here
you
in
that.
the next
That's telling me John or
few
Gary
minutes.
showed.
So, what I wanted to point out here is as we're adding these different items to the estimate, and you'll see
Your
here really
cheat
fast.
stuff.
You're jumping back and forth between the estimate page and you're able to modify this estimate. So as you're creating these, whether when we get to option packages, we're using that to manipulate those, or we're building one from scratch, you can always tap in, you can add your items, you can actually add photos to this, estimate if you'd like, and then we can enter a summary for the work that's being performed. So I kinda want to, after you've done that. Okay, awesome, so then I'm gonna go ahead and let's hit tap done, or actually, let's hit add item, sorry, my bad.
On arrival, good summary, bro.
Okay, so hit add items. So a couple of things, since it will be a newer price book and you're really fast and savvy, what I like is that you were able to quickly go to the top level category and drill down. So hopefully this is intuitive, hopefully everything you need is in there, but likely not. So go ahead and give us that feedback. A couple of things that I want to point out is if you're a thumbnail visual person, this is super helpful for kind of diving into the categories. Does anybody know how to get a list view of your categories if you like text instead?
On the
Yeah,
button
it
on
is
the right.
there on the right.
Awesome, yeah, so if you do the 3-line icon there, that'll change all of your one to the left.
I'm
Yeah.
curious, what's easier for you guys? Like, who likes pictures?
Me.
Oh, we
So we'll go to a restaurant.
Who likes words?
No, I like words too, but the picture's a lot easier.
It's like ordering from a menu.
Faster.
From a restaurant.
And the customers seem to like it a lot too. I'm saying.
The other thing that I wanted to point out is we do have this search up here, so if we type in something like mainline,
I'm waiting for someone.
yeah, no, you're good. I hear you. And then tap the search, perfect. Then you'll see here that it'll browse, to your various tasks here in list view, and do me a favor and please just tap back to the thumbnail view as well. So when you do this, you'll see all of the various tasks. If there was a mainline category or subcategory, it would also appear for you to tap into that category. So if you're looking for various tasks or titles, or subcategories you're not able to find, hopefully it will find you, then you can just search in there and tap on that. Also, if you hit the blue plus icon, that's like a quick ad within the price book. Can you do me a favor and please tap on one of those pictures? This is gonna go into a detailed view of this, so if you're looking for the correct task and description, you can come in here and look at this, and then you can even do something like, up the quantity. So if you hit the plus sign there, perfect. So we've got 5 hours of overtime, then we can go ahead and add this to the estimate as well. So just a couple of different ways of navigating around, making sure we're able to adjust that quantity if needed within the price book so that we get that nice line, itemized estimate for the customer to review. You've been awesome, thank you so much.
The other piece you're gonna see is as you go into the price book, there are some things that will be listed as upgrades. Like, you know when you're on Amazon, you buy like, I don't know, a toothbrush, and it's like, oh, other people bought toothpaste and a toothbrush holder and whatever. So you're gonna start seeing in your price book some of those upgrades being built out as well. So, that should also make it easier to add things and kind of like suggest other items that you may also wanna add. If you see something that you're constantly picking, you're like, I wish this upgrade option was in there, let us know, because that's something that we can add in the price book.
Drinking fountain.
So, yeah, I was able to find out, like, a lot of these seem to be built out in your, commercial, like, section, so if we go to plumbing commercial, then this is where we can see our good and our best, upsell options. So that way you can make sure that you're recommending the better item.
One quick question, a lot of my job is saying, dig a 3x3 hole here, dig down 3 feet, expose the big sewer line, cut a 3 line out, every day, repair the pipe, run the camera afterwards, back to open back. So can a lot of those be put out in templates? So same thing with concrete, just things I do commonly, that way I can just, instead of rewriting the whole thing over and over again, just one time, hit it.
Absolutely,
Is
so
there a
we,
manager for that?
yeah, so let's go ahead and get into the estimating splits, because I know that's where you were going with this.
I've already answered this question for him once, but that's all right, John. You can double check.
But it hasn't got done yet, I haven't had the performance live yet.
What did I tell
Which
you?
is, yeah, that's where if you have that job number, go ahead and give that to him, he'll give that to us, and we'll help make sure that those templates are not only, kind of going through that upward feedback process, and like, yeah, this is a good starting point, but we're rolling it out to the larger group.
Do you guys recommend us using the packages? Does it change anything, or is it building your own?
So, yeah, you can think of estimate templates a couple of different ways. One, common scenarios to save time from typing out everything and entering 6 or 7 tasks or common jobs. Brian brought up like a really good point in Monterey though yesterday. We do want to come up with those common jobs, but we don't want to do too many of them, because as you can see when you come to your all estimates here and you go to add, if we start scrolling through 50 options, then that's going to be kind of difficult too. So we want to make sure that we're being a little bit thoughtful about what those common scenarios are. What's cool is you will see how many options are there, and if we expand here, which I think is what you were hoping we would do, is you can see how many options and what they are. So it's not like super detailed, but you can start to look at the prices. Okay, this is a good, better, best package versus a common scenario with one option. So we can turn your jobs into templates and say, hey, for common scenarios, it's just gonna populate maybe 1, maybe 2. I'm gonna show you guys how you can even duplicate a starting point and then maybe upsell 1 task. For option packages, we do recommend a good, better, best option when appropriate, just because it does allow the customer to feel like they're having some choice in shopping and understanding, and it gives you a way to speak to your recommendation versus trying to just build out that initial estimate. And then also for maybe some of the folks who aren't as familiar with what those upsell options are, this starts to give you a tool to speak to that. Oh yeah, like that seems to be working really well. For my buddy over here, he's able to like close this. I'm gonna start using that.
And since we're gonna have, with the packages and stuff, are we able to like tell them how much the financing would be for each single one if they wanted an option on the best?
You guys are like the best segue people ever. Like just teeing it up for me. I love it.
That's
Okay.
why we're number 1.
So let's go ahead and select this package and let's take a look at that. Because what I do want to point out is this should make your life easier, not harder. So if you don't think one of these options is good, you could just keep 2 on the table, or you could add 1 task. But I think if it's like 80% populated and you're removing or adding like 20% of it, should speed it up for you. If this is causing more time for you, then we want to reevaluate what the template options are. So when we tap select here, it could also be something as simple as even having like a couple of shells with maybe a couple of tasks, knowing, hey, everybody's gonna add a few differently, but at least this actually populates my summary, my title, and the first like diagnostic task and a couple of other suggestions. So we don't have to get too specific with over-engineering it, but we can start to speed up this process. So, sorry, what was your name? Nathan. Okay, so Nathan was very quickly like just whizzing through this, but as you see, you could come in here and you could tap your 3 dots icon here, and within here you have a couple of options. You can delete it. You can also move them up or down if you want to look at that order. But what you'll also see is we have a duplicate option. So if you're in the field and you're trying to build some of these out, you can tap this and then hit duplicate. And what that will do for you is it'll take your title, it'll take your summary, and it'll take any task on your original estimate, so you don't have to navigate and type through that again. So now we can come in here, we can just quickly rename this. And then we can hit add items, and you'll see when I do that, it's already transferring my other 2 items from my original estimate. So I can just come through here and pick my last upsell task, and now I have my 2 options ready to go. So that's really nice as you guys are thinking about that and then saying, hey, I've got a great example. I'm gonna go ahead and just for simplicity, I'm gonna quickly delete these as well. And then we're going to take a look at our good, better, best option in the context of how we might talk about what that would look like for financing.
So if doesn't it show the financing options in there now?
Yes, awesome, thank you. You know like everything.
He fixes everything.
This is really good. This is super exciting. So before we dive into the present option, one other thing I just wanted to point out is there is this recommended box. Yes, it does show the customer what estimate you recommend, but what's also important for this is as you're creating more option packages, and let's say this time it's not going to close and the customer wants to think on it. I would recommend that you check recommend, Because if if the customer calls and they wanna go, hey, I wanna go with that, package Nathan recommended, the office is gonna go back, look at 4 option packages and not know what you recommended to the customer or why. So make sure you're adding those notes, checking it, because then if we wanna flip that in the office, you'll get your sell by credit, whether you're performing it or not, you're gonna get credit for selling this at a later date. And they can say, okay, yep, was the recommended option XYZ. So that works out better for you. You don't have to come back in, like do another call just to go out and sell it. Also, it's gonna ensure, like from the customer standpoint, everybody kind of feels in the loop. Okay, so I'm gonna check recommended here, and then we're gonna go into present. And yes, this is where we're gonna start to see our payment plans. So you can swipe to the right to start to look at what the prices are for these. But when we're comparing $1,500 and $1,137 versus $24 a month and $18 a month, hey, maybe this $24 a month, that's only like $6 more a month. It's not that big of a deal, but the sticker shock of $400 or $500 is. So this is where you're gonna start to see your plans as low as. And then when we wanna apply for financing, it's gonna be in the top right. The customer can still choose their plan. So the team here has picked, I think, 6 different plans, is that correct? Yeah, so 6 different plans they can choose from, and it'll outline all their terms, allow them to step through the application process, and if they're approved, it's as simple as literally tapping activate plan. Yeah.
So on that, excuse me, on that it says the amount in finance right there?
Yes.
Is that gonna vary which plan they choose? Cause obviously which plan choosing them is gonna different the interest rate, right?
It will, so I believe, Audrey, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it grabs the lowest plan option.
I think it says as low as, right?
And, oh, okay, and would that be like the standard 18 months one?
It depends on what plans you've selected, so different companies can
Because we
pick
usually go
different
for an
plans.
18-month no interest, that's what we usually do.
We're not gonna have an 18-month no interest, we're gonna do a 6-month no interest, a 12-month no interest. There are a couple others I don't remember the details
Okay.
on.
Because a lot of people like that 18-month no interest, they're like, ooh.
Yeah.
So my bet, based on what I'm hearing, is it's probably the 12-month no interest, because that's gonna be the lower plan with no interest on it. So yeah, you'll be able to browse through this, we can see our recommended option. If you have a savvier customer, obviously, maybe if your customer's elderly, maybe they're not stoked about like handling the tablet, that's fine, you can have that conversation and close out the cell. Maybe if somebody wants to browse through his or her options, they can come and tap view, and that's where you'll get your line item list of all of the things that you're recommending. So hopefully this should look really nice to the customers, you're turning around and having them sign this as well with this new enhanced price book. So let's go ahead and let's sign and accept this.
For your trade, Tracy?
Sorry. No, what did I forget?
No, we gotta sign HIC, I'm just playing.
Oh yeah, that'll pop up. Thank you. Yeah, you're totally right. So the HIC form. Do you guys know what the threshold is? The dollar amount?
$750 residential.
Yeah. You guys are awesome. So if we sign and flip this estimate and it's over the 750, which this opportunity is, then that's what will require that HIC form to be filled out.
Is there something you can do? Because once a customer signs an estimate, and then later on you go back and you throw the line item, the signature erases. You can't.
Correct, because technically what's happening is they're saying, hey, yes, I agree to this work, and then if you're changing that, they have to re-agree.
But not the price.
We don't
All you
change
do
the
is just
price.
put it, you don't change the price, you just put in the line items.
Yeah.
And you do it at home.
Repair.
Okay.
Yeah.
You sell an estimate to do a mainline repair for $2,500. And you sell the estimate, then when you go to, cause you don't know exactly what parts you need till you dig it up. Then you go get your parts and put all that in, it erases
The
the
signatures.
signature.
Your materials?
But then at
Yeah,
that point,
we
you're
don't
already at home, or you're off of the job
Okay,
site.
so, yeah,
And so
actually,
then we gotta get them to re-sign it, to authorize the work, so it's like if we never did it to begin with.
yeah,
we just put a smiley face.
With the new structure in the price book, that's not gonna be an issue.
Right.
So basically what we've done is we pulled all the materials into the back end, so you can adjust materials as needed, because you're not charging it directly to the customer. So,
That's annoying.
Wow.
yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
that'll
gonna
take a
really
while.
streamline that workflow.
I think that's what they are talking about.
Hasn't been an issue
To the
yet,
customer,
so.
because I know when you go to charge it to the customer before you change the pricing, it fluctuates the pricing.
correct.
Yeah,
Like,
then what we
it
do is
brings it up
we
instead of-
take the parts mark, after mark, and we extract it from the labor plate, or the estimate, and that's what, yeah, we get rid of it, what the actual label.
Got it.
that only with materials, or is that gonna be if you do add items, you still have to get another signature if the price has changed?
That is always going to happen. What I will show you though, I mean, you're still gonna have to collect your authorization, but you can actually flip two estimates on the job, so I will kind of walk through what that looks like, as well, because that has been a question that comes up. But, I mean, like technically, legally, if we agree to work and then we change that work and the price has changed and the scope of work has changed, we have to collect that signature.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
one of
so
the biggest.
Basically, the increase in price, it's a legal thing, you have to re-get signatures,
Mhm.
but part
It's
of
a lot of things, we're not changing the price. The
Uh-huh.
price is
Yeah.
staying the same. It's just when we add tasks into it, it gets rid of everything.
Right.
And we gotta itemize everything we do on the job. We can't itemize it and keep the signature.
Yeah, so let's
but-
look at
And it's
this.
hard to report.
Is that because you're used to creating the price?
He's talking about like if we do a big project and at the end, you gotta go in and you add the labor line, you add your permit line, you add your subcontractors, you're putting in parts. But on the big project you're talking about, we've already got a signed contract, which is an HIC, and you've got a final signature. It may look like those signatures aren't in there, but when I print out that invoice, those signatures are in there.
Okay.
Oh,
So
okay.
they're not going away, so I
usually
wouldn't
what-
worry too much about that, cause when you guys go later and put your parts in, after you're left your job, that's all staying in.
And if the price changes,
They're-
where it matters
they're
is
talking about
the
water
change
heater
order
jobs
on the
when-
HIC.
When you guys go build a water heater job and you click on a 40-gallon water heater, it's gonna have everything already built into it. You're gonna be able to go in there and take, well, I don't need earthquake strapping, I don't need this, or I need to add this, or I need to add that. And that's all gonna be in on the back end to where you're not gonna have to do all that.
Thank you,
So-
yeah, thank you for.
What about the different areas, like, different areas require different things?
We are fully aware of that.
And that's where this feedback, hey, if like, you're like, hey, I'm missing a material or I keep having to tweak this, please let them know so we can fix that, so you don't have to keep tweaking that every time. Like, we wanna make that as streamlined as possible for you.
And you're talking about different requirements with the 15 different municipalities that we work with, and that's not a problem. We'll work through that. It's okay. If you work through it now, we'll work through it again.
Change order on the HIC, baby.
We'll help you, just let us know what's missing. Okay, so now I wanna go over now versus later. I think just sometimes people kinda can get tripped up with like, okay, I don't see these on my invoice, or how do I, oh my gosh, did I just grab this? How do I make sure that when I sell something and I'm not performing the work that it gets followed up on? So can somebody tell me when we should select, when we're picking, we're performing work now versus later? So now means
Now.
you're doing it now. What does later mean?
Later.
Later, at all, yes, exactly. So if you're not performing this on this job before you hit complete, always hit later. It sounds silly, but, like, I get it, like, sometimes it's a conversation of, hey, customer, you agreed for us to do this work, but we still owe that customer the work. If there are issues where your next day job is not being followed up on or booked from that sold estimate, let us know. We can do training within the office to ensure that those are being booked through the follow-up tab with the sold estimates. You don't need to be too concerned with that. When you hit later, you're always gonna get your sell-by credit, and then regardless of who performs the next job, whether it's you, then you'll get your revenue credit. If it's somebody else, they'll get credit for performing that work. So just wanted to make sure that we pointed both those things out. So I'm gonna hit now just so we can jump to the invoice and look at this process. This is where we got our form triggered. This is our HIC form. Now that this job is over $750, it's gonna say, hey, do you wanna fill out this form now or do you wanna fill it out later? So I'm gonna go ahead and hit continue here. And let's kind of talk about filling out some of,
One quick question, I'm sorry. We only need an HIC if it's actually repair performed. So, if they're doing, say, $1,000 in drain cleaning and that HIC pops up, obviously they don't need it for that particular job. So
Or
how would they
commercial.
bypass that?
We're gonna make a change to that.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so we're gonna actually start to break it down by job type. Right now, the trigger is just for all residential jobs over $750. So we will go ahead and we'll adjust that. for
Ooh, and
the-
I got a question. I don't know if it's just my tablet or John and Jared, your guys too, but on the HICs it says Vista, California. It no longer says, and I can even change it.
On HIC.
On the HIC it says Roto-Rooter, that is not this one.
That's
Okay.
our corporate address.
Oh, so leave it like that?
So-
As
Yeah.
Vista, California? Okay. Sacramento.
So is that gonna auto-populate now with all that, the new stuff, okay?
Well, not all of it, right, but.
Not all of it's
Well,
still
no,
okay.
but the Roto-Rooter and our license number and all that's gonna auto-populate, okay?
Yeah,
The improvements you
Because
guys
half you guys don't put it in there correctly anyways.
I do.
Look, what's our zip code here?
Right here, 95835.
Okay, that's why it's got put incorrectly,
What
because
is
it's
it?
95838.
You guys never told me.
The improvements to the HIC have been great. It's definitely half the time, all the customer names are popping up, all the information that is, should be relative is all there. It's great, to go through it.
Okay, that's good to hear. So what I wanted to ask is some people actually don't know necessarily how these show on the tablet. So does somebody know how you can get these to activate and see them on the tablet?
I just erased them.
Yeah, the edit sign.
Okay, great. So that's why we're going over this. So it is a little bit tricky. So I just kind of want to talk through the workflow. Basically, you'll come in and these fields are called smart fields within ServiceTitan. So think of it kind of the same way we have our financing form. We're already on the job. We already have the customer name, the address, their phone number, all of that stored within ServiceTitan. So what we're trying to do is just auto-populate anything that we can that's consistent, so that we can eliminate you having to fill out all of these fields. So this does not actually display, they kind of stand for customer name, location, address, location, city, location, state. So you don't have to memorize these, that's fine. If some of them are not working properly, again, please continue this feedback loop so we can make sure the forms are working well. The first thing that you'll do is anywhere there's not a smart field, you'll tap edit to fill out the form. So we'll go ahead and open the contract to be in edit mode. Just something to be aware of is after we go ahead and sign this document, it's technically a legal document. So we want to do our edits and collect our signature, and then that's going to save and kind of lock it down. So if we want to come through and we wanted to fill out some of these fields, we can zoom in with a pinch and a zoom, and then come in and fill out the date, for example, or various fields. So what is today's date? 16th? Okay, so then we'll come in and put in our various fields, and then the system's gonna do the work and calculate some of this for us, which are gonna be those smart fields. If you wanna grab a signature on a form, anywhere within here, then you can actually just tap in the white space, and when you do that, there's a toolbar that appears on the top. So this is kinda like your markup toolbar. The third icon from the left is gonna be your stylus icon. We can tap on that, do our signature here, and then if we don't like it, we can exit out, or if we do like it, we can select that check mark. So that will go ahead and collect that signature on this form. Now by collecting all of this within ServiceTitan, again, we're eliminating that process of having to collect papers in an envelope, bring them back to the office, maybe you lost one, now you gotta get in your truck and go back just to collect another signature. So the idea here is, again, we're gonna be centralizing that information. The office is gonna have it. If the customer needs that form again, we can just email it. This is gonna help so that all of that is stored within there, and make this a little bit more clean. So when I hit close here, it'll ask, do you wanna save it? So if I'm all done with my edits and I've collected a signature, then I can go ahead and tap yes. And then at this point, when we actually hit present, that's where you can see how these smart fields are populating. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit present, and that's how you can make sure before you're done that these are working okay. So anything that's stored within ServiceTitan will populate on the job. So now we have our edits, we have our signature, and then any of these smart fields for the location of John Smith on all of that avenue. So the present button is kind of the key. Are there any questions about that? Okay, cool. So it sounds like some of you've enjoyed using the forms. Has anybody else found it easier?
It's faster than doing it by hand.
Okay, cool. That's good to hear. And my rule of thumb is we don't wanna over-engineer these things, but if you're finding that 100% of the time something's consistent and it's not programmed into this form, let us know. Maybe there's other smart fields we can add into here, or if we're using additional forms, we can kind of think about that and keep uploading them. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and close out of that. Now that I've completed this form, when we jump to our invoice and we tap on forms, we'll see that we've already done our pre-work photo, thanks to Nathan, and then we just filled out our HIC contract, and now we just have our post-work, form to finish that up. So I'm gonna go ahead and close that out. We get to take another picture. Smile, I know you guys are so happy. We got a smile, I love it, okay. So we'll use this photo, we'll go ahead and hit save. Awesome, so all of our signatures are complete, and then we're gonna jump back over here. So if we had applied for financing and activated our plan, and we wanted to use that, when we're hitting pay, then I can go ahead and tap on pay here. And under the drop down, we'll actually see the green sky payment type. So by selecting that, that's what's important. If they wanna use financing after they've activated their plan to pay for this job, that's when you're gonna wanna tap the green sky payment type. You can do the full balance, or you could do partial balance. So if they wanted to come in and actually instead do part cash and part financing, totally fine too. So you can just come in here, tap cash, for example, type in your specific amount, and then pay the remaining balance with financing. Are there any questions about that process?
That would be, you pre-approved them for financing, you did the job, now it's time to actually collect on that financing, that's when we go to that box and move.
Correct, yeah, okay. So I'm just gonna pay this full balance in cash now. I'm not gonna close the job in case you wanna talk through any other questions or scenarios. We can switch into a commercial job and, look at a different estimate template example, some other pin notes, if you wanna walk through a second scenario. But one other thing I promised that I would show before we close out of this is how we can actually sell another estimate and what happens. So let's say we just sold this customer, you suggested some other work, maybe water restoration. Customer's like, nah, I don't wanna do any of that, you document your notes. Then you're walking out the door, they got approved for a couple extra grand financing, and you're almost to your truck and they're like, wait, actually I do wanna do the water restoration project. So at that point, we've already sold our estimate here on the estimate screen, but we can still flip another estimate, even if we're not gonna do the water restoration work. If you wanna actually build that estimate and get credit for that on this job, you can do that. So you can come in here, you can tap add estimate, we can build a new one. We can put in here water restoration. And then we'll go ahead and add some items within here. So I'm gonna come in here, go ahead and do our water, and
I've been telling you this whole time.
for the lead,
Shit out
and
of
let
me.
them know, okay, cool. Okay, and then how many of you have, that's good, that's awesome, so that is what we should be doing, so maybe this isn't like the perfect example. So if you identify a water restoration job, what do you guys do?
Call Tyler. No, I said it first.
Perfect, awesome, so when we jump out of this job, I'm gonna show you where those leads should show up. There is a process in the office to give you credit for those leads, so if you know you're giving leads and you're not seeing them on your dashboard, let us know, again, we can help with the training thing, we can track those leads within the system.
Now, I heard two things. I heard call Tyler and I heard call Betty. I think the right answer is call Betty. Well, is Tyler able to set a lead in the system?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I call him because it's easier for me to tell him what I see.
Yeah.
Than to tell Betty to tell him.
Yeah.
It's more direct
I just didn't know he
when
could
you
set the
say, hey,
lead.
I got this going on.
I wanted to
If
make
you
sure
ask
that's
questions,
correct.
I can give them the direct.
Does anybody know why we're calling to do a lead? Cause sometimes I know like you don't know the other side of like, why can't I just hit a lead? Does anybody know why?
Because we're not authorized to make any stuff
Yeah,
about
we're
like.
not water restoration.
Yeah.
We don't know the
You
guy.
can't say that's mold if it's not
Okay,
really
a
mold.
little bit, basically because when you book a lead, you're actually booking the
It's water,
job.
it's
So
not
now
water.
we're stepping through the cycle again of the
That's
CSR
not
booking the
covered in
job
this.
or the office booking the job. So because the field is gonna be booking those jobs, that's why. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and in this example, just humor me for a little bit. Let's go ahead and go back, and let's add some items here. I'm just gonna grab a random task just to kind of talk through this. So let's go ahead
Yeah?
And then when we're in here, you'll see now we have our top estimate, it's a new estimate, so we can go ahead and tap present. Yes.
Say something happened to me, how do you make that peak
For this?
disappear?
You know what I
So
need
you
it for.
can't actually, what you can do though is, do you wanna add or remove items?
Remove, I just wanna make the whole thing go like, how do you do that?
So what you could do is you could tap the three dot icon, and you could duplicate it to open a brand new estimate with those items and tweak it. And then you'd call the office to unsell the original estimate, because we don't wanna double count that. Or could they remove the items from their invoice if they haven't signed, right?
Yeah, so can you give us an example of when you wanna do that? At what point?
A few times I have sold items and then they didn't go through, but I had already got the signatures and everything, and then you're like, well, I don't think I wanna do this, and so I don't want it on my thing anymore, it's like, then I can't get rid of it.
Okay, yeah, so it's like customer.
And it's
didn't
happened
see it,
more
not
than a
wanting to
few
do it
times.
anymore, You just need to like unsell it, delete it.
Yeah.
Then just, you would come to your invoice, remove the tasks, but you'll still wanna call the office because you can't unsell
But
an
it'll still
estimate.
be on my, it'll still be there, it won't go away.
So if you remove it from the invoice, then it won't be on your ticket, and then they can just delete the
Well,
estimate.
yeah, that's what I've been doing, but I don't like it, it's just a mental thing.
OCD thing.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, the office has to unsell it, basically, just because that is getting attributed to your sales numbers, so they just gotta go and remove it.
I thought I was the only one with that.
No, no, no.
You're doing the right thing. I think that's good feedback, we can bring our email, like, literally, before, yeah, you completed the job, hey, customer changed their mind.
One other question, oftentimes, the email is wrong.
Okay.
And we can't fix it and send it ourselves, they don't want us to, so how do we change their email so that the office knows?
Pen a note, Barney.
What's that?
Pen a note.
What?
Call Betty.
Call Betty.
Call Betty. Just call Betty.
Why can't I just change it?
Well, therefore, let it.
Betty got 10 million things to do.
Why are you idle? And then they call Betty.
Enter mail, but.
7 o'clock at night.
Exactly.
Just pen a note.
5 o'clock.
Call Betty. I call Betty all the time.
Been a note.
Betty got Betty.
Yeah, I would imagine, you guys have like a process, this is a good point, like for after hours, and some people will maybe have like a number they can text or an email or something, so when Betty gets in, she can make
All they
those.
gotta do is text Betty.
There you go.
Send Betty a text, when in the morning she gets in, she looks at her email.
Perfect, yeah, so a text message probably is gonna be easier than a call too. We have like a lot of other shops who do that. Sometimes it does seem like silly, like that we can't do certain things on this job, but we have to think like, hey, this might affect like how we're billing the customer. It affects how we're storing their information. It might affect, like, we have to now update these things in accounting too. So, it seems like simple kind of in the time, but then there are other downstream things that have to happen for operations in the office to make sure everything is updated properly. Okay, so let's go ahead and just sell this one as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and tap present, and let's say we decided to add on, and there's your one, as low as $162 a month, so you can see like you could have a $1.62 month plan. So we could come in and we could go ahead and split this estimate.
Max signature.
Thank you. Okay, so now, if you were gonna perform this later for somebody else, you hit later, you sold the estimate, you get your sell by credit and move on. If it's, water restoration specifically, you call, you get your lead credit. If this was something else, where somebody, hey, decided, actually, like, can you do this one other thing, I changed my mind, I wanna do the mini jetting. Sure, so I can hit now, if that's something else I'm gonna finish up, and the system will ask, do you want to replace or keep the items? So to your point, when you're coming through and somebody changes their mind on the estimate, you could duplicate it, replace all the items, so you don't have to sit there, remove them all. You'll still have to call the office to unsell your original one, but you can kind of keep working and say, hey, we kind of want to like start over with an estimate and wipe this invoice clean. If we're adding, it's an addition, that's when we want to keep the items, and that'll add your additional item to the invoice. Yes, we still have to collect our signatures, because now it's a different payment amount. And if we need to come and pay the balance, we can walk through that process again. Okay, cool. be a commercial job. Are there any other questions or scenarios you guys really wanna talk through today while you have me? Yeah.
So when you have materials and you're adding the tax rate for whatever materials you're adding up, where do you add that? So on the main invoice page, you just go in and take out the zeros and add that tax in? Whenever I do that, it's like, it disappears.
Yeah.
It won't
Oh, yeah.
load that, and you have to just do it over and over and over again, and
A
finally.
lot of times when it'll do it, you add it in, it'll go away, and then when you click back onto it, it'll come right back.
It does.
Mine does it for me all the time.
It's not really doing that for me. It's like I have to go in like
Did we not
sometimes.
rule out
about
a
it.
no more sales tax thing, October first?
Oh, okay.
I thought,
Yeah, like the packages that Rick does for 310, it comes with the mainline and pipe shield. We don't go in there and put the tax, I just leave it as 310.
Yeah.
yeah.
But before we used to put
But
the
still,
tax.
but materials
Where's
only,
that?
though, we still are adding tax, right?
Where's Ricky?
I think we eliminated the sales tax.
Oh, that's why I do the same thing. Oh, okay.
Wow. Oh, that's a good way.
James.
So like these
It always take long away.
And then you had to go and call, you know, when they come back to it, it's called half the time. Instead of keeping.
I gotta go home.
And that's the problem.
At least
You know,
make it split.
Yeah, can I take this as a takeaway? Because I'm pretty sure we've eliminated the sales tax issue altogether. Sounds like maybe it hasn't been rolled out, and just branched it.
Yeah, cause I just put mine on Friday, last Friday I put that.
Yeah, the intent was to eliminate it October first. Sounds like maybe that hasn't happened. So it's on my list. I'll circle back around with you guys next
So you
week.
don't want us dealing with that at all.
My goal is no, we gotta make sure we keep it legal, but I'm pretty sure we found a way to do that.
Yeah.
We always either accommodate different rates, but we shouldn't be putting that in here to calculate
Yeah,
that,
well,
so.
for me, it's.
Well, yeah, it's even worse on the back end when it comes to the office, and you have to recalculate things again.
Yeah.
So, we tried to get rid of that. I think we have. I'll get back to you on that.
Well, another one is like, I do a lot of septic tank estimates, and those are all over the phone. So there's, you know, I don't go to them. I dispatch a ride, call them, give the estimate, send it to them. And that's all 90% of them are estimates.
Try to get you straight cornfield. No type of scenery, nothing.
So a lot of my work is nothing but estimates. I'll go whole days up there to have 0 paving jobs. Because, you know, like the nearest drain cleaning company up there, we are $125 more expensive than the most expensive one up there.
So are you still being assigned a job?
Oh, yeah.
So that way, okay,
I
so if you're
do,
being
I'll do
assigned,
6, 7, 8 jobs up there a day, and I maybe sell 2 a day.
okay,
But it's because the price is so much higher than what everybody else up there is. I mean, the nearest company compared to us is Fletcher's, and for a main line, they charge $150.
But we're road over rooter.
We're charging.
Where the roots, Chris?
We're the big dog.
Just getting past that.
It is what it
we're
is.
So much more expensive, it kills us.
But we're the best.
It doesn't matter, when you double the price.
We do double as hard work.
Yeah,
Yes, dude.
I
We
think
look
you have
better.
some brothers in this room who can sell that, though.
I could.
Yeah.
So,
John, where you at, dog?
Everyone got one up there because it's so hard to sell up there.
Nah, it's 2-4. It ain't got nothing to do with the price. Fuck that.
So we are rolling out more sales
Hey,
training,
John.
which will probably help with that.
Tell him, bro, we can sell
Probably
salt
not
to
gonna
a
back
sweat.
up the price, though.
We can sell
Because if we're
actual
driving
polar
that far, you
bears.
can't pay.
Yeah, cause I go up every day, it's an hour drive just for me to go up.
It ain't about the price. That shit 2-4.
Hour drive, man, that's ridiculous.
That's
Well, I know.
I got this other company we do it for $80.
And it was like, I wouldn't mind going up there if you had like 3 jobs for me, but you sending me one and then coming right back. Fuck that.
They're cheap as hell. And when we took that branch over, they were only charging $125
Yep.
to run a main.
But we've done that all over the
Yeah.
state, and everywhere we've been able to get it up to our pricing. Yuba City's not at all unique. You know, we did the same thing in
Plaster.
Stockton just recently, right? We did the same thing in Salinas a year ago. It's very common. But we just need to educate the customers, kind of teach them what we bring to bear that's different from, you know, Jim Bob with a truck.
Yeah.
It's a different deal.
For filming and
But
draining.
we'll get you the tools to sell that though, okay?
Tell them no longer Andy, you know?
We got some sexy men at the door.
There's plumbing.
As far as finances,
Yeah.
that's what I'm more interested in.
Okay.
So, are you covering that as far as what needs to be filled in, or have you already done that?
So unfortunately on our loan, like our test account, it's like the plans and the configuration is activated, but your actual plans and your actual financing has to be like live on your real account. And it's very difficult to like test financing. So we weren't able to show that. What we will do is we'll send the deck, we'll send a knowledge base article, and then if you guys have any questions about the process, like you're getting tripped up or you wanna know, hey, like what's being sent to the customer. There's been various questions that have come up. I'll be fully honest, I know how to go through the process, but I'm not a financing expert. We do have an entire team that manages that though. So I will tell you, if you kick those questions to me, I will find out the answers for you and I'll help out.
So it's wait for you to get rolled out, wait for the knowledge-based content, and then we get it based on that, if they have any additional questions, then get it together.
Yes,
I
100%.
think we'll also put like a short, maybe 2-minute video on your iPad so that you guys can just like flip over to the content portal and just watch how the process works. Cause it's super simple, but it is nice to just see it before you're actually like in it trying to do something. Yeah.
Did we cover the content portal to show them how to get into there? Cause there'll be things that they could go in there and look and see. And
We haven't done it, but we can do that. Good idea. So it's terrible because we don't have anything in our, content portal in the quote account, but along the top here, we'll do this for the rest of the session, thank you. You'll have your dashboard, your jobs, the content portal. When you tap here, we can upload like PDF tutorials, like, hey, here's how you do something. We can link into videos of how to do something. We can even pull in our academy stuff. So if you tap in here, literally it's as simple as scrolling and either viewing the document or playing the video. So we'll make sure that there's some good content in there. Maybe you can speak to some stuff that might already be loaded in your live
I think we were
account.
gonna do a president's message and put up there every week for the guys to look at too, or no? Like
Every week?
A video message from our president. But there will be things in there.
Every week, you kidding, right?
No. To John's point about financing, once we get that rolled out, we're gonna have separate training for the financing, so.
Okay, cool. I wanted to hit on a couple more tabs just in case, like, they've gone missed. I'm gonna go over just the follow-up and the history tab. So the follow-up tab is gonna show you any of your, opportunities that you might not have sold. So if you are sitting in your truck and you have idle time and you wanna come and you wanna, call a customer or, you go to a customer and you're trying to find an opportunity, that you wanna sell, you can also navigate through the follow-up tab. There are a couple of filters that might be helpful, so you can come in here. You could filter down by business unit. So hey, if we're gonna be the Sacramento branch and I wanna look at just the jobs that I fill estimates for here, I could filter down by that. I can also come in and I can filter down by the opportunity status. Okay, so you'll see right now we're looking just at not attempted, unreachable, and uncontacted jobs. We're not looking at one or dismissed, but you can change your filters. And then when we do come in here to view this opportunity, we can just tap. And what's cool is if the customer actually wants to sell this, we can tap into this opportunity here, and there's an option to mark as sold. So that essentially will sell it on the office side so that they could follow up and book that job, so they could book the follow-up work, and then you could collect all your signatures when you go back to do that. So this does allow you to be a little bit proactive if you want during any slow time. And then also if you are out on the phone and you need to come in and continue to like add items to that estimate, you can actually add items and build out that estimate. So if you are in your truck or you're sitting up somewhere where you want to go ahead and adjust those estimates, you totally can. And then if I go ahead and tap back here, when we're looking at this follow-up opportunity as well, there's a couple of other items. You can find them in history, but sometimes you're not at that customer site. So you might need to look at history from like a couple weeks ago. So when you're on this follow-up tab, you can see the photos and PDFs or forms that pertain to this customer and a timeline view. And then as you're actually calling and making those follow-ups, you can check a box to say and add a note. Yeah, I reached the customer, they want to go with it. I followed up with the customer, they're not interested, whatever it may be, and all these notes will get stored in the office. So as we start thinking about being a little bit more proactive with some of these outstanding opportunities, the office can see those notes, your manager can see those notes. You can kind of use this as your pipeline, if you will, for opportunities that you've started.
That's
If
in,
you guys have like customers that you go out to and they want you to call back like a week later or something,
Yeah.
like, they want time to think about it, have any of you guys been using this follow-up tab?
It's actually not on mine, and I've asked about it. And,
You can
It's
just
a
make
permission
note
thing, so.
on a piece of paper and call them back.
Okay, so this would be a great way to actually come through here, call the customer through the call, log your follow-up. That way we can see, hey, we're following up on our opportunities. And by marking it sold even in here, you'll get your sales credit for that to show up on the dashboard.
So you can make the phone call in the upper right-hand corner, that little like phone icon, and then the calendar icon on the far right. You can actually set a reminder for yourself, so you don't have to remember to call them in 3 days. Like the iPad will remind you.
can it book
Take
a call from there, or do you still have to call Betty?
You still have to call Betty. As soon as you mark it as sold, in the follow-up tab, she has a tab that says sold estimates. So she can see all sold estimates that don't have a job yet booked. So you could add a note, hey, customer requested, Friday afternoon, and then notify her so she can book that follow-up job.
Sorry, how do I go in? So I've finished the job and I'm looking to sell some more stuff, give it a few days. How do I get it from I just closed out or closing it out to the follow-up?
Yeah, so if you don't see this, first of all, the follow-up and history tab are permission-based. So we might have to standardize like on all of the permissions, so just let us know so we can fix that. We do have it as an action item to look. But if you tap on the follow-up tab here, then you can use your filters by date, or this will show all of your opportunities. So
Basically, opportunities, I mean, jobs that I did not previously.
correct, that you built estimates for, that are not sold.
Got it.
Yes, so when we tap on view opportunity here,
I'm sorry, how far would I go back?
it should be all time.
Really?
Yeah.
Last month between the first and the fifth, you can actually put it in for those, just in case, those jumps.
Yeah. So that is, great, thank you. When you tap into here, that's what gets you into that detailed view, and it's this mark as sold option. Or let's say, customer, you don't have a recommended option, you hit a couple of options. Maybe you come back in and you tag this as recommended if they're thinking about it, set a reminder, and then follow up on it.
So after you hit the recommended, it'll allow you to the reminder, and then at that point, the reminder will pop up.
You don't have to do recommended. All you have to do is if you want to come into the follow-up tab, when you click on or tap on that opportunity or that estimate that you built, you just need this little scheduler icon. When we tap on this, it's basically just setting a reminder on your tablet to follow up.
Gotcha, so as soon as you finish up with the job, you go ahead and set it up at that point. And
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, definitely. You can jump to the follow-up, it's not a sold estimate, and then you can say, I definitely want to follow up on this guy. And then the one last thing that I'll show you over here is on our history tab. You can see all the history for all of the jobs that you've worked. So if I wanted to search by customer, I can actually tap in the search to search by customer if I'm trying to find some of that information. And then once you go to view that job, you're gonna have access to the history that you do when you're dispatched to the job. So that'll give you another place to basically find that estimate. So there are a couple of places that you might find it, but it might be like, hey, I remember the customer name versus I wanna look at my open opportunities. We try to make it a little bit easier so you can navigate through that. And then our search filters here on the top right, that's where you can change your date range to say, I know I was out at so-and-so's house 2 weeks ago, and start to narrow that down.
Those, what I've noticed from those date ranges though, is they'll only show you the jobs that are sitting right there. So if you have a job that was on the first and it doesn't show on those 4 jobs, it won't pop up.
So if we go back to like October 1st,
It won't pop up on my.
we might also need to look at your permission. So these kind of things, if you're finding inconsistencies with what we're saying, let us know, because we do have a lot of permissions in the system and we might just not have got to tweak those yet.
So say that again, when you come in here, if you try and like move your date range back, if it's not already on the screen, you won't see
jobs that I can put in my date range are the ones that are sitting right there in history. So after like 4 days, 5 days, once the jobs start disappearing, or if I've done 4 jobs in a day and yesterday's jobs start disappearing, I can't even go back to yesterday and see the jobs, so.
Although, has it always been that way?
It has, for me at least.
Okay. Yeah, let's look at permissions, because also, to your point, I just changed it to look at like the last 2 days, unless, what was yesterday's date? My dates are off, that's why. So if I go to narrow this down by the 15.
Yeah, I know you have that. I don't have the follow-up though. You have that, I don't have that.
Yeah, some of these things are permission based, okay, so now, okay, yeah, so it does seem to be working, so that's my bet, but we'll definitely look for you. And then the last thing I wanted to point out was our technician scorecard here, so, this is gonna show you either the past 30 days, or you can change your date filter on here. And basically, your average ticket number, that's gonna be your revenue that was generated on your jobs or work performed. Your conversion rate is gonna be, basically, was that sold or converted based on any one of those one opportunity, like one estimates within the opportunity. So again, if you built 4 options, but you sold 1, then you'll get your conversion rate of 100%. And then this is gonna be your tech generated leads to make sure that you see that number populating, if you called in and you gave a lead.
I've noticed some days when I've done like 6 jobs or something, and I go to look at this dashboard, I only have like, it only shows that I went to 1 job, like opportunity, like 1, and I've been.
The rest were callbacks.
No, have you actually, are you hitting done for now, or are you completing the job?
Completing the jobs, you know,
They haven't seen
totally
it.
billed and
They
everything.
gotta get back.
They gotta get back before they show up.
If
Check next day, bro.
if he's on a job with a project manager, a project supervisor, the split may go to the project supervisor and not to him, so he's not seeing it right after the job until it gets audited.
Technically, just so you guys know, the minute you complete a job, that should be updating our dashboard. The status of the invoice should be separate of the dashboard numbers you're seeing. Actually, that's usually why we see more revenue in Service Titan, before we actually get it in our accounting system. We might, if you guys wanted to see really quickly a commercial job here, I did just want to point out what those, did we have one in here or not?
Yeah, before we jump into that though, is there anything that you guys have questions on? We've got, like 15 minutes, so anything that you guys wanna go over as long as we're here, you guys are all pretty savvy in the system, so if there is something you want us to dig into.
Yeah, Bobby, you and I need to get together.
Okay.
And I'm getting with any of you guys that, like, I think I worked with Nathan before, and Ryan, and a few people have come in and spent 20, 30 minutes with me, and I'll show you how to do that with your tablet and show you what it looks like on the office end and help you out with that. Not that Chris wouldn't be able to show you how to put PO parts in, but it might take more than 15 minutes.
Appreciate that, yeah, and then if there's questions afterward, that's what I'm here for. I'm giving out my cards to all the branch managers, and you guys are also, welcome to, if you have an urgent situation, I'll make sure you guys know how to get a hold of support, stuff like that as well. Okay, one last thing I wanted to point out, for another scenario here, is just what some of those pin notes look like on a commercial job, and take a look at another potential estimate template before, we head out today.
I did have just one last question. The last maybe 3 weeks or something, when I've been clicking on state revenue for today, if you notice, clicking,
Thinking.
it doesn't, no, it hasn't, it's been slow, and it wasn't like that up until about a couple weeks ago.
It's just speed, bro.
And you have the latest update?
You got an iOS update.
Okay, can,
It's still doing it.
Yeah.
But I just usually go in and get synced and change.
Wanna see why when water respiration get on my job, I can never close it out?
yeah, like he's going to basically trailing 30 days to today, and it's not like updating.
Yeah, we most of the time go.
That's the reason. I'm thinking that's the reason.
Off and back on.
Because what?
Water restoration,
I'm able to reproduce
come to my
that, so I
job,
can-
I can never close it out. I had to call you.
For me as well.
So this is another thing, guys, as we go along, like our software team is like constantly making updates and upgrades, they're always trying to make the app perform better for you guys. So if you guys find stuff that it used to work one way and it no longer works that way, we really wanna know. We have an entire quality team that's dedicated to just testing through any product upgrades. But also, if you guys see something that changes, we really wanna know so we can fix it. So please, like, report it.
Tell us, like,
Yeah.
you don't want, you guys are not bothering us, you guys are not complaining. If we don't know what's happening, then we can't fix it. Like, that's part of our job and we wanna make sure it's performing for you.
Hey, Carissa?
Yeah.
With Darren here, he has, it seems to only happen to him, so I'm not sure if it's some specific settings, but when there's a project and he has, there's a water restoration, tied into his job, he's not able to close out the job and take a payment. What's it tell you when you try to do it?
It won't let me close it out. Yeah, it don't say anything, it's just gray.
It's just great.
Yeah.
And are you?
No,
are
I'm
you
already
a
arrived.
technician?
He is.
Yeah.
And you dispatched and arrived on the
Yeah.
job, okay? If you could just grab
When-
that job number example and let me know, then.
When that's happening, call me, that way I
Yeah.
can go in on the opposite side and look, because it could be that someone else was assigned on your job and they're at lunch.
Yeah, I have.
And you can't do anything when that guy's at lunch.
Yeah,
until he's
there's-
done. So just when it's happening, call me, then I can look at it and get with Chris if there's an issue with just, it might
It
just be
seems like
something.
it's just him. He's the only one it ever happens to, and it
Right.
probably happens to him maybe
Every
once a
time
He
they-
week.
couldn't get his to work and he was in airplane
Oh,
mode,
in
so it
airplane
could be
mode.
something super simple. But just call me, Darren, right when it's happening, if I'm by the
Okay.
computer. man,
You
I'll
was in
jump in and
airplane
try to figure it out.
Okay.
Huh? Ew.
Wow.
Okay.
Like the
Yeah,
king.
so a couple of helpful things for you guys. I mean, it is hard for us to know exactly what's happening as you're going through that situation. So even if you can grab like a screenshot of the message and a job number and pass that along, if we need to investigate, then we can on the back end. We just need like a little bit of information so we can start troubleshooting these things.
Also, if you let us know in real time, our support team can like look at your screen and stuff. So if you chat in, that's super helpful because then the support team will capture that and make sure we get it addressed. And
Okay.
maybe some of the permissions, I don't really know, but once we can catch it in the app, so we can fix it.
Can't go to the chat screen when you're in airplane mode though, right?
You cannot.
Just check.
Can they go to the chat screen from their
Yeah, for
app?
the tablet, that's just Office, right? They
You
have to
would
call
to be
in.
the office, but then.
Yeah, they have to call
If
in.
he's
Do you guys have the office or the support, like actual phone number to
I-
call in to support it?
I do, and when these guys have an issue that we're not able to resolve, I do send it to them.
Okay, perfect, yeah, cause like if you're literally not able to work, please call that number. The other thing I will point out is this this sync icon. Have any of you ever seen like a bubble with numbers up there?
I get it
Okay.
all the time.
Okay, so that means you're offline.
Yeah.
We do that on purpose because we don't want you to not be able to like do your job in Service Titan if you don't have internet connection. One very important thing to note though is you do not want to sync your price book until you're back online, because if you sync your price book, you're re-downloading and you're gonna lose your work.
Well,
So
I
you wanna
got
make
it
sure it uploads your changes and then you download
When
it.
I'm up there, it actually logged me off because it's been doing it for so long.
Well,
Being sick
sometimes
for
you're
so
in an area
long.
where there's no cell service.
Oh, yeah,
that
that
could be-
happens all the time.
That's
Yeah.
the reason why, but what
And then
she's
the
saying
other
is
thing
whatever,
is
as soon as you go out of cell service, you can still do anything you need to do, collect payment, do whatever on your tablet, finish your job, estimate signatures, all that. But don't hit the sync button until you get
Correct.
back to cell
So
service
that syncs
and let
up.
your tablet upload everything up in there.
I've had a problem with it logging me off completely back out of Service Titan. And
Okay.
Service Titan
Let us
shutting
know.
down and restarting and all that's gone.
Okay, well, that's,
Let us know, yeah.
that shouldn't have anything to do with cell service though.
Yeah, let us know if, yeah, we'll take a look, like the day in the job. I was thinking, like, but it's also, it's a whole lot of stuff, it's caching a lot, so, yeah. Okay, let me see here, one second, guys, wanted to see if we could show something else on here. So I'm just gonna grab one of, our commercial jobs here, which is just gonna be a few different tasks, with this estimate template. So kind of same thing, we have our urinal pole cable, we have the reset, and then just the basic unblocking. So let's see here, do we get that? We were trying something to show you guys. Okay. And then this guy didn't have any other pin notes, so we gave you a different location. But let me see if I can find, okay, so here's a lot of notes. So here's an example of a commercial job, where we're gonna see in the history here, because I didn't have it on the residential job. This is the difference between your pin notes, which would be just your important items on the front, and then on the back end, any of the history of all of the notes that have ever been added to this job if you needed that paper trail. We might give you guys back like 10 minutes in your day, unless you guys have any other questions for us. Huh? Yeah. Let's see here. Is it in here? Okay, and then we have the handouts as well. Okay, perfect. We have some handouts if you guys want like some helpful items here. Thanks for being such an awesome participant. And then we'll make sure that each branch manager also has like a guide for the technicians. We did that today. Thank you so much for your time, guys. It's been really nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.